Testing. 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 Yeah, I'm good. Testing. 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 Test. Test. Testing. Testing. Think so. Testing. 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 Test. 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 Testing. 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 Right. Testing. 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 Oh, let's see. Goes from here. Where's it being played from? It should be played. Concentrated presenter. And did you do backwards by any chance? Like the computer and the testing. 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 Oh, weird. Testing. 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 Testing.
Hello? You want to speak into that mic?
Testing. 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 On my phone. Testing. Testing. Yeah. Let's do it right now. Testing. Testing. I think we got it.
Thank
You are welcome.
Welcome, everyone, to our March 24th, 2026 Midvale City Council meeting. We are just back from our workshop. We had a nice discussion about our Uplift Midvale Youth Violence Coalition. More information, as always, about that in the future. Some of the activities that Vanessa and her crew plan to do. We're looking forward to starting those new traditions here in Midvale. So thank you, Vanessa, for the very informative workshop. We will start, as we normally do, with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the state, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on for a roll call. Rory, will you see who's here, who's not here, and who is joining us on Zoom from maybe Colorado?
Yes, Councilmember Robinson. Here. Brown.
Here.
Mikalash. Here. Billings. Here. And Glover.
Here.
Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Okay, that is all of us. Welcome, Councilman Glover. Hope you're doing okay. If you're in California or Colorado.
Colorado.
Colorado it is. Okay, I knew it was one of the two. Moving on, we have a Unified Fire Authority report this evening, and here to do that, as always, Chief K. Welcome, Chief. Good to see you.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me. Our safety message for the month of March is hands-only CPR matters. So CPR is important. Just wanted to present you with a couple of numbers. In 2024, UFA responded to 252 non-traumatic cardiac arrests. Of those, 52.8% received bystander CPR, and 11.5% had an AED applied by a bystander. Nationally, 41.9% of patients receive bystander CPR, so we're doing good there. And 29.2% of patients had an AED applied, so some room for improvement there. In 2024, 31 of those patients, cardiac arrest patients that UFA responded on, left the hospital alive after receiving bystander CPR and AED use. This represents a 51.6% save rate, which is significantly higher than the national average of 37.6%. So a little pat on the back for our communities doing hands-only CPR or traditional CPR. It's important to save lives. And with that, I'll just go into the call volumes for February. Another busy month for the crews in Midvale. We had 320 calls in February. That made Midvale the third busiest community in UFA for the month of February. So congratulations. Moving up. And yeah, that's the end of my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Chief K? Chief, for the hands-only CPR, I think some of us have learned in the past that if you're ever in the situation where you have to do that, the song in your head, is it still staying alive?
Staying alive.
Okay.
Yep. You're looking for 100 to 120 beats a minute. And if you sing Staying Alive in your head, you'll be right on time.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Chief.
you.
Okay, moving on, we have a proclamation tonight recognizing March 31st, 2026 as Transgender Day of Visibility. So I will read the proclamation, and just as a reminder, this is something we've done for a number of years now, something that I think all of us, the council members up here, are proud and happy to do. We know that there has been some hateful rhetoric statewide and federally, and we want to let those members of our community know that we see them and we are here for them as allies and as elected officials. So the proclamation reads, recognizing March 31st, 2026 as Transgender Day of Visibility. Whereas transgender and gender diverse people are valued members of our community who contribute to the cultural, civic, and economic vitality of our city. And whereas Transgender Day of Visibility, observed annually on March 31st, is an opportunity to celebrate the resilience, leadership, and achievements of transgender and gender diverse individuals while raising awareness of the challenges many still face. And whereas every resident deserves to live with dignity, safety, and equal opportunity, and our community is strengthened when all people are recognized and respected. And whereas public recognition of transgender and gender diverse residents helps foster understanding, compassion, and belonging across our community, our neighborhoods, workplaces, and schools. And whereas communities across Utah and the nation observe Transgender Day of Visibility by uplifting transgender voices, supporting inclusive communities, and affirming the fundamental dignity of every single person. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Dustin Gettle and the City Council of Midvale City do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2026 as Transgender Day of Visibility in Midvale City and encourage all residents to recognize the contributions of transgender and gender diverse people to continue working towards communities where everyone can live openly, safely, and authentically. This is adopted this 24th day of March 2026 and is signed by me, the mayor, and all members of the city council. So thank you, city council. All right, moving on then to public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing tonight may step up to the microphone now. You'll be given 3 minutes for public comment. We have any? And if you would just state your name for the record.
Is this gonna pick up my voice?
Yeah.
Mayor, thank you. City Council, thank you. I am JC Thornton, Executive Director at Project Rainbow. My pronouns are she, they. I am also a CSW, licensed CSW therapist, and the mother of children who have been adversely impacted by legislation in the state. And so, on behalf of the 20 donors of Project Rainbow that are residents of Midvale that are proudly flying our transgender flags for the next 2 weeks. I thank you for this resolution. We would love to be more engaged in the future as these proclamations are read. We have a Trans Day of Visibility community celebration on the 31st that we'd love to have copies of this to share with our broader community. At a time where we feel very threatened by government, it's great to see government that supports us. As you all know, and if you didn't know, gender variation has existed long before colonists came to Turtle Island. And the flag represents that we have always been here and we will always be here. In spite of all of the chilling effect that we were scared about with HB 77 that recently passed, we continue to see our community showing up in large measure. And we know that the vast majority of the people staking our flags are allies. They are people saying, this is where your community is, this is where you're safe. And so we can talk statistics of how our community is disproportionately at risk for suicidality and how seeing one supportive adult for our youth reduces their suicide risk by 60%. But I think most importantly, the stories of people coming to our doors and knocking as youth to say thank you for putting that flag up, because no one in my family was affirming, and I saw it at your house, is why we continue to stand, and at times in great risk, knowing that our flags are vandalized and stolen at a rate of around 20% of the flags that we stake. And so we know this does not represent the best of Utah. We know that the vast majority of our flags do come back to our offices. And so we will continue to always represent our full gender diverse community. As also a organizer for the Utah Trans Plus Coalition, where we are all gender diverse leaders, we can't thank you enough for this act of government speech to say that we are valid, that we are a part of the fabric of society here in Midvale. And I just can't thank you enough for your support. And we look forward to finding ways that we can also drive policy, the likes that we see in Columbus, Missouri, and Kansas City, also red states where they have supportive policies to protect their citizens in their city. So thank you again for your time.
Okay. Thank you, JC, and thank you for all the work that you do at Project Rainbow and for speaking so eloquently on this topic. We appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else wishing to give public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to council reports, and we'll start in District 1, Councilmember Bonnie Billings.
Nothing today, Mayor.
Okay, moving on to District 2, Councilman Paul Glover.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. District 3, Councilmember Heidi Robinson.
I'm just gonna say something really quick. I just wanted to say I'm very proud of this proclamation. I think it's very important for us to be speaking out on these big, important issues that have such a long and lasting impact. So I do just want to say that as far as Transgender Day goes, visibility, I will be celebrating, and any of my friends or family have a seat at my table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. District 4, Councilmember Bryant Brown.
Yeah, I have a handful of things. I guess I'll take up some time from the others so far.
Please.
You start by, I do want to echo Councilmember Robinson's sentiments. I think they make the trans community makes an important part of our community, and we want them to feel safe here. We can't make them feel safe everywhere, unfortunately, but hopefully in Midvale that it is a place they do. I also want to recognize and thank some of our people up here. They helped run some of the caucus last week. That's why we didn't have city council. It was a great turnout, I thought. I think from probably both parties. Just a lot on the ballot, a lot of people on the ballot. Just encourage everyone, no matter where they stand, to look up the candidates and the topics and be informed and engaged, because there's a lot going on right now. And sort of lastly, I just want to remind residents that, I think one of the best services we've provided since me and Councilman Gill started a few years ago is the transfer station. With the spring in the air, a little earlier than normal, I got really sunburned on like March 20th, which seemed really unfair. I cleaned up my whole yard, and normally I kind of just sit it all in my carport and wait until the bulk waste. And on Saturday, I was like, oh, I can just load this up in my truck. From the time I put it in my truck to driving it to the transfer station and getting home, it was 14 minutes total. Right. And so, really encourage residents to use it. I've used it now twice for that purpose, and I've taken paint there. That's free, 3 different times. I think Bonnie probably lives the furthest away, and that might be like 30 minutes round trip, where the traditional dump would have been like an hour and 15 minutes. It's if you go, say you're a Midvale resident, it's $20, right? And they don't really ask questions. It's a lot cleaner than going to the dump. Like, it's kind of weird because you just throw all of your garbage on the cement floor, like everything you're told not to do as a kid. You just like throw it. You're not like driving on a garbage pile in the middle, of nowhere. That's a little sketchy. So just a reminder, spring's here. Very much encourage residents to use it. It is a great asset. I know we pay for garbage already, so an extra $20 seems kind of crummy, but it's really not too bad. On that note as well, if you have a truck and you have an older neighbor or something that needs help, with a couch or something, would be a great way to sort of help your neighbors. And
Okay.
no, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Just don't make the mistake I made on Sunday, loading my truck or my vehicle up with glass recycling and realizing that it's closed on Sundays. But other than that, yes, I think it's such a great amenity for us here in Midvale. Moving on to District 5, Councilmember Denise Mikalash.
Thank you. Also want to appreciate Project Rainbow. Unfortunately, live in an HOA where we don't put any flags up, so I'm always bummed when I can't participate. Would love to figure out another way to do that. One time when I went to the 9 to 5 Broadway show by the Midvale Arts Council last night, and it was entertaining, and they're hilarious, and they did an amazing job of finding costumes, just a creativity in it. So smiled all through it, recommend everyone go. Also wanted to congratulate the new Canyon School District Superintendent. Look forward to meeting them on Thursday. So that will be great to tie into what we talked about earlier with Uplift. And then I think, and then we do have in the RDA, which is pretty exciting, our first applicant for the Main Street Activation Program. So that was great to hear. Love that that program is already being accepted, so we'll hear more about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we look forward to hearing more about that grant later tonight. Okay. For my report, I have a couple of things. Councilmember Mikalash has hit on the one. Yes, if you hadn't heard, there's a new superintendent of Canyon School District. Dr. McKay Robinson has replaced Dr. Rick Robbins. So there's a lot of Robinsons going on there. So we do look forward to, we have a Canyons gala on Thursday, so look forward to meeting Dr. Robinson, but from what I've heard, he is a very well-loved person within the education community, so I have no doubt he's going to pick up where Dr. Robbins left off. Second thing I wanted to mention, next council meeting, which is the 7th of April, we're going to bring a resolution. I was contacted by Two Row Brewing, who had some questions about one of our ordinances, 510080, if you want to look it up. But we have this kind of antiquated law or ordinance on the books that basically requires them to do double work as far as making sure that all of their servers have some sort of identification badge issued by the city. In fact, when I was listening to his complaint about this, I was thinking like, this can't be us. This has to be DABS, right? And no, it is something that has been on in our books for quite a few, I guess maybe 20, 30 years maybe. But anyway, we discussed it internally. I had a number of conversations on Thursday with Matt, city attorney, Garrett, Chief Morse, Adam was involved in it. So this was a pretty big lift, but I was pretty excited at the end. We all kind of agreed that this ordinance does nothing that the DABS already doesn't do as far as making sure that folks are properly licensed and a background check is completed at the time of hire. So we're going to bring that ordinance for discussion on the 7th and possibly repealing it, or, you know, if you guys, the council, have any other additional ideas. There are some neighboring cities who have a similar ordinance. There are some neighboring cities who don't have or have already repealed the ordinance, but that'll be on the next our next city council meeting. I wanted to give you a heads up just in case the owner of Two Row Brewing or any other facilities reached out about it, because it is something I think that our UPD folks and detectives have started recently to go around and require, as they should. I mean, it is an ordinance on our books, so why wouldn't we? But if it doesn't have to be on our books and we have safeguards in place to make sure that someone, DABS, is already doing this, seems kind of burdensome to me. But that'll be up to you guys the next 2 council meetings. The final thing I have tonight, last Thursday, which was a busy day, so before the Two Row Brewing discussion with every city employee, we had our UPD budget, PBIM, which stands for Preliminary Budget Increase Maximum. I think I mentioned our last council meeting, this was the meeting where we set that number. The number came in initially around 5%, which would have been approximately $700,000 increase for Midvale City. In some discussions in that meeting, I made it clear that, you know, our budget could not handle, you know, 5 or more % increase this year. So we did negotiate that number down to 3.5%. The parameters I heard from council were between 3 and 4%. My personal recommendation was 3%. And so we're going to get 2 sets of numbers at our next UPD board meeting. One that will be the 3.5% that the board set, but also a 3%, just so we can see what that looks like as well. So with a 3% increase, that's about $400,000. So just to get it down from 5% to 3.5% saved us, you know, almost $300,000. So looking forward to working with the board and with the chief. I know there's not a whole lot within our precinct budget that can be cut. We run so lean to begin with, but Chief Mazarin did promise us in that meeting that he had some creative ideas that he was looking forward to taking a look at the budget and see where he could make those cuts. Of course, we don't want to compromise officer safety or service levels here in Midvale, but we also just simply can't have our taxpayers face another, 100 and 200% property tax increase this year. So more on that later. If you guys have any direction for me at the next board meeting, we'll have that, I believe, April 19th or so. So that's a lot for me tonight, so I will stop. I'll move on to city manager report, Matt Dahl.
Thank you. One quick item for me, and then I was gonna have the city engineer, Brandon Anderson, come up and talk about a couple of quick things. But for me, as you recall, a couple meetings ago, we had to cancel the meeting early or close the meeting early because of a smell. I did just want to let you know that we did hunt that down, and they were storing cooking grease in there, and that is what the smell was. We have not been successful in trying to get an understanding of why we're storing it and how to get it away from here. But at least it's, I thought you might feel better to know that it was not sarin gas or. So before Brandon comes up, I do have one last thing. I do want to express my extreme disgust with the University of Houston basketball, or not University of Houston, University of Florida basketball team for breaking my bracket. I wanted that on the record because that's how impactful it has been on me this time. Brandon, are you ready? All right. So I've asked Brandon to come up and talk about a couple of quick things. One is he is a member of our Jordan Valley Water Drought Committee, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. And then the other one is Brandon in his role oversees a lot of our construction projects, and was just going to give an update on some of those projects for you. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
And he's also wearing his March Madness basketball tie from the looks of it.
That.
But I may as well wear my basketball tie when it's appropriate.
Apparently your bracket's not broken.
I'm not doing very well in said bracket, but it's not broken. Arizona hasn't lost yet. So can I get that?
Can't believe I said Houston. That's my team. Bears.
Hopefully I can remember a lot of this. I thought it had started at 7. So just an FYI. So at this point with Matt, I'm going to do these two, the drought committee update and then projects update. Then I'll be back up for another project update. So just as be aware that we have one voting member on our drought committee that we vote for. It discusses the impacts, snowpack, the water levels in the reservoir and what's going on there. What do we want to do to recommend? We make recommendations to the Jordan Valley Water Board. They actually vote and make that recommendation. But of the voting members that were there, 10 of them voted for a level 1 on the drought. To the level 2, there were 6 of us, that myself included. I voted at level 2, and then there was 2 people that weren't there, 2 members that weren't there to vote. Our current water levels at Jordanelle are 64 and 86 at Deer Creek, meaning if we're at 100% on both of those, we have 2 years worth of water. So we are in that kind of drought, and we do not have a great. Actually, we have the worst snowpack we've had ever in Utah this year. So that doesn't mean we didn't get the water. The water came, it just came in the form of rain. So our soil moistures are actually up higher than they usually are at this time of year because it rained. And so there is some benefit to that rain and moisture getting into the ground. It's just not in our reservoirs that we use a lot for watering and stuff. As I voted because I'm not looking at just this year, but I'm looking at what happens in 2 years or 3 years if we have low water. Obviously, it's just a recommendation. So the recommendation went 10-6 to that board, and they will make that determination. It was a really good discussion, but we are low on snowpack. And it's getting worse as the temperatures are very hot right now. It actually dipped quite drastically. And those are current water levels because they gave us different ones while we were at the meeting. But we had the most up-to-date information at that meeting. And a few of the other members of our staff were there as well attending the meeting. But level, I'll just say from their standpoint, level 1 is to try to reduce water by 5%. Their level 2 is to reduce it by 10%. That was the other reason I voted. I kind of wanted at least a 10% reduction. Talking to Mariah earlier, she'll get up and talk a little later about some of that and how much we have saved, but that was some of ours. And then we have our levels within the city that we look at level 1 and level 2. So any questions?
Brandon, I just wanted to add, probably should have said it during my report, but tomorrow we're announcing this year's rain barrel program. So that's like a water collection program that I think this year is going to be even more important. I think a lot of folks are going to want those drastically reduced cost rain barrels. That's not something I've told you about. This is breaking news to Brandon. But it's just one of those things that, we elected officials need to do a good job this year of letting our folks know that we have these discounted rain barrels available. It's a great way to store water, do your watering instead of, using the very valuable resource that we all need here in the desert. So, but also thank you for the vote to level 2. I think that was probably pretty wise.
Okay. Yeah, we do. Like I said, there's different. That's good. Oh, they have media. I was going to say, so that both ours and theirs is doing media campaigns and getting that message out. For those that may not have heard or attended, they will provide us as well some information to be able to present and to our public and to our members and our residents. So, all right. With that, we'll go on to the Midvale projects. There's not a lot. It's just a slide to remind me where we're at. So we have 2 projects currently underway, and then we have a third one, our 2026 water line replacement project that I will bring at next city council meeting for recommendation for award on that one, but that just went out. The sewer project, I don't know how many of you've heard, we've been working on Main Street recently. Maybe you've heard it. I heard it a lot last week. But we are working on that sewer project, and a lot of we've done about 50% of that already. This Main Street and the avenues that we're working on gets us a little further in that. With that being said, I want to highlight the fact that we did take 1 week to interrupt businesses and traffic flow versus it would have took about 3 weeks if we would have flagged it, tried to go around things, make it easier for traveling public to go. I know it's hard to swallow, but at the same time, we were trying to look at the businesses and residents along there. With that said, going forward on the sewer project remaining, we still have, and just a reminder that that sewer project is to help our aging infrastructure. Some of those manholes that we took out on Main Street are very old. Somebody told me at least 80 years old. Some of them were falling apart. Like we pull them out, they barely tapped them and they just fall apart. It's almost like digging them. But anyway, that's the main purpose for this project. So we do have a couple of impacts that I want you to be aware of. 4th and 5th Avenue is a remove and replace the pipeline. That means those avenues are very narrow and it will impact all the residents up and down that street. With that, we've always had the communication plan to get that out 3 days early in English and in Spanish, the flyer that goes out, and to we put them on the door. And then as on the sewer project, if we are right in front of their driveway where they can't get out, they go knock on the door. Hopefully somebody answers. We don't always get a response. Sometimes that they didn't get the flyer or it somehow didn't make it to them, but we try to inform them the best we can. that's a big impact on Fourth and Fifth Avenues. Those are coming in about 2 weeks, and they'll last about a week and a half each road. And the reason is because they can't just drive through the road when they're working. They have to start down here near Main Street. We won't block Main Street off anymore, just near Main Street, and then just continue up the road because you work from the bottom up. So they have to go up to Rio Grande, back all the way down to get the materials, send that one out, bring the next truck in. It's kind of a slower process in there. The other one I want you to be aware of is we are considering, there's a manhole at Wasatch and Main, right in the middle of the road. And that's one of our corridors for traffic. That won't happen until, I think Councilman Brown was talking to me about that last time I was here, but it's one of the major roads there. We are going to go after school, so it's going to be in May. So we are trying to avoid that impact, but we are also trying to consider the financial and traveling public impacts to that. We are contemplating rerouting traffic on that one as well, shutting that intersection down, which is kind of big. It's 5 days, it's 5 working days during the week if we can shut it down. It's 2 weeks if not, but it's very close to they have to pump around that. It helps make a service connection that has to go across the street. There's a few things that helps. It also helps us so they don't have to put temporary pavement down while they're working and then come back and put permanent to like let traffic through on one side and then let traffic through. They can just work, pave it back. It does save us efficiency in financial flagging. We wouldn't have to flag it, and obviously time. There's a couple other streets to do on that, but those are some other ones that they'll have room and they'll be able to move people around. I'll stop at that just in case somebody has some questions, because those are bigger impacts to the public.
I think the sewer project, I like to remind everyone, like, it's so foundational to all of the big ideas and big plans that we have, that the short amount of time that we have to suffer will be big payoff in the long term. So, everything that has happened on Main Street, it looks beautiful and new, but underneath and the bones that need to support that have to be built out. So I appreciate you doing that, and
Yes,
they'll pay off and everyone will appreciate it.
I totally agree. I agree with that one. Any other questions or comments? All right. Whoops, I don't want to go to the next one. Our roadway infrastructure project, which is our Stagg Street, some of the improvements on Main. So Stagg Street is mainly done. There are some power poles that are left up. The power has moved, but the communication lines that are on those, we're made aware of it, but they are not moving very well. It's a discussion with them all the time on when they can get out there. So we're moving as fast as we can to get those poles taken down. If you drive through there, you'll notice that the ones that they topped off that don't have the power on the top, all those poles are coming out. So as they remove the communications on them, that'll go down. We'll finish sidewalk and asphalt where those holes for those poles are. It's really going well though. Smelters done, depot's done, Stag's done. We also did semi-raised crosswalks. I'll say that for Nate's sake. So, but there's 2 raised crosswalks. I don't know if you guys have noticed those. In the shutdown, we combined Noland and Beck construction to lessen the impact for both projects as well. Those are raised, they're colored red. We will put a chevron on each direction when we get those painted. Speaking of which, I should go back because I just remembered painting. So the sewer project that we took out the crosswalk on Wasatch we're trying to get it done this week, but we haven't heard back from the subcontractor for sure this week. That's their plan, but we haven't heard from the subcontractor as of today. So you can go drive those. We'll mark those. We'll place some actual bollards on the side of those, some breakaway, so they'll prevent, it'll hurt if you hit the bollards, but they're breakaway at the same time. So, but it'll help that traffic calming as you go down. So the little raised, and then the bollards and then traffic crossing signs will be there. So there's that on that project as well. And then behind the museum, we've done that sidewalk that was behind there. Very interesting back there, what we found, but it's like a 2-foot void, but we filled it in. We got the cut. I don't even think Matt has heard that one yet. I haven't showed you pictures, but anyway, pretty significant back there to get that done, but that sidewalk is done. It's back to, there's a part that's ADA, all of it's not ADA. There is a waterway that kind of goes down through the middle of that to drain. And so there's that's a benefit to it. And then we will put up bollards back there as well so that the people will quit driving through that alleyway and then over the sidewalk, which I hear happens already. I'm just not here at night when the bands leave. So. Any questions on? They're still about a month out from finishing on their, they're really, Beck Construction's really just finishing up some few touch-ups that they didn't get while they were there. They were gonna close some more pipelines. So we leave them on, but they'll go back and they'll put concrete in them, fill them, stop them. So those water lines don't work anymore. And then they have some curb and gutter on Main Street that they're gonna do right across the street here. And we have them, we're working on getting this food truck entrance fixed. So there's a couple littler things for them to do and then finish.
But those will have some, while they might be in the road, they're not gonna shut down the road.
No, they'll be shoulder closures, so there'll be two-way traffic through there. And when they need to bring in vehicles, they'll flag it to let people go both directions. So communications with that one has usually been 2 days in advance and the day of or the day before they go knock on people if they're affecting them right in front of them, on businesses mainly. And the other thing that goes out with our RDA group, we coordinate with them as well, and they mail out some of those flyers as well to give them two forms of trying to connect with them. Any questions on that project? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
That completes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Brandon. I did want to say real quickly, I think as Councilmember Mikalash mentioned, our residents for the most part, yes, inconvenienced by a lot of these projects, but I think most realize that the temporary inconvenience is worth the long-term gain. So I just urge those who are affected to hang in there. We hear you, we drive the same roads, and we're probably inconvenienced as well, but great things are coming to Main Street and beyond. Moving on, we have one public hearing tonight, and let me check the time. Yes, it is after 7, so we can proceed into the 7 p.m. public hearing. And that is to receive public comment on amendments to Title 16 and Section 17-4-3 of the Midvale Municipal Code to come into compliance with requirements of the Utah State Legislature. And here to discuss that is Wendelin. Guten Tag, Wendelin.
Guten Tag. I have another code amendment for you. This one is driven basically by a change in the state code that happened a while ago. And this change drives changes that we basically just need to implement. And the first item here is that the state requires of the cities now that when we review subdivisions, that the sort of the technical review, construction plans, everything that has to do with engineering happens either with a preliminary or with a final. In our ordinance, we had some of both. It appeared in both sort of review phases, you could say. And with this, we changed it to just appearing in the preliminary plan. So basically, we front load everything that makes it, it's actually pretty consistent with how we currently review preliminary plats because those are the ones that go to planning commission still. By state law, preliminary plats cannot go to the city council, and also not the final plats. Then the state also decided to recodify portions of the state code, and that included the portion that has the vast majority of the planning enabling legislation in it, which means that all the, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 references that we have in our code that refer to the state code need to be updated. So we are doing this a little piece at a time whenever we have an amendment right now. And you see that quite a bit in the amendment. Then number 3 is also, a housekeeping item. There's a section in 17.4.3 that basically summarizes at a pretty high level what powers and duties the Planning Commission has. And there's one item there that just needed updating with respect to subdivision approvals. So we did that. And the other item had never appeared in that list, but it's been deeply ingrained in the municipal code, and that has to do with vacations of road right-of-way, that the Planning Commission is a part of that system. And then another housekeeping item, whenever we have numbers in the code in the past, for example, there's a number 15, it's written out, and we are changing that to just 2 digits, 1, 5, and you see that in numerous areas here in this amendment. And then the last item here is just a clarification on sidewalk requirements for private streets. There was still a provision in the code within the subdivision ordinance that allowed a developer to not have a sidewalk on one side of a public street. And as staff, we felt in this day and age that really shouldn't be. And just so that you can sort of visualize the changes a little bit, this is in the preliminary plan language. This is where all the engineering provisions have been added. Over here in the language for the final plat, that's where it got taken out. Then here, there's some examples of the recodification. So the number basically changes that references the state code. This is the powers and duties section. Paragraph D is the one where we updated the language that they're actually approving the preliminary plat. And paragraph F is the one that deals with street vacations. And as I said, this isn't new, it's already in the code. This is just, a reference basically to other sections in the code. And then here's one of the examples of the number 50 spelled out versus a number in our code. And then this is the portion where, the clarification happens on private streets that you can't just have one sidewalk, you have to have 2, one on each side. And this goes along with our criteria that we have in our code for text amendments. And this is the recommended motion. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions from council? Well, thank you for not putting this down as 5 different public hearings and combining them into one. We appreciate that. On that note, this is on our agenda as a public hearing. Is there a motion from council to open this to public comment?
Mayor, I motion we open public comment.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of opening public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are in public comment. If there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item, now's the time. Seeing no movement, is there a motion to close public comment?
Mayor, I motion we close public comment.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor of closing public comment, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public comment is over. We do have a motion on the board for council's consideration.
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2026-0-08, amending Title 16 at Section 17-4-3 of the Midvale Municipal Code to come into compliance with requirements of the Utah State Legislature with the findings stated in the staff report.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes. Councilmember Glover,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brown,
Yes.
Mikuláš,
Yes.
and Billings. Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. We have one item tonight, and that is to consider the minutes of March 3rd, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor, I motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Mikuláš,
Yes.
Billings. Yes. Glover,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously as well. Moving on, we have a couple of action items for this evening. The first of which is to consider resolution number 2026 R13, authorizing the mayor and city staff to enter into an agreement between Midvale City, Salt Lake City Corp., and UDOT for the 8,000 South Bridge Replacement Project. Here to talk about that is Brandon, and real quick from my end, this is a very time-sensitive issue, so much as soon as if the council does approve this, Garrett's going away to get the paperwork ready to go so I can sign it and head it, so it heads to the right people. As you know, getting 3 different government agencies, Midvale City, Salt Lake City, and UDOT together on all of this was quite the ordeal. And we are pushing a 3/31 deadline.
Wow.
Brandon, take
Anything
it
else
away.
you want to say on that? Keep going. So, our 800 South project, some of you may have remembered, we did a betterment on this project to do our roadway within the utility agreement, to do our roadway within, UTA agreement. So that's a betterment that was passed before, but this one is for, tonight is the top, bullet points. There's 2 agreements. One is an agreement between UDOT, Salt Lake City Public Works, and Midvale. And that is to be able to let us work on that project, replace the bridge as it goes through. And it's just an aging structure that needs to be replaced. This gets us so that it lets us and UDOT really to advertise the project. So this first agreement that the mayor and Garrett and Rory will sign is to let us be able to have that agreement so that UDOT has it in place so they can advertise the project. The second agreement is just between us and Salt Lake City Public Utilities. That's the handout I just gave you. The reason it is where it is right now and handing it out at this point is it has been a struggle to get this. It was a struggle to get the first one, let alone this one. So I'll just say that, leave it at that. But this lets us, this lets us get a permit to be able to put the culvert that's already existing in place. Now they want an agreement to let us do it and lease their ground for 10 years to have the bridge there for $1,000. So that's the second one that's in front of you. It is okay from our review. It's not great. We had some comments. We just haven't been able to go back and forth with them. And so it is very similar to ones we've had in the past. There was a bridge about 15 years ago that we had a very similar permit. We were just trying to update the language and what was meant by the language. We weren't able to do that. That's the best we could do at this point. That one we're approving to get signed. It's not on, so we're trying to approve both of them, but this one, that second one won't be signed tonight, per se. The first one needs to be signed tonight so that we can get that advertised, as the mayor said, by the 31st. So, questions on that?
Any questions for Brandon?
I know that's, if you need time to look through it some more, you can.
I will say, we've all said how it was an ordeal to get this far, but I will say that once the problem was identified and I was able to assist by calling the
Yes.
public utilities director at Salt Lake City, again, kind of surprising when you learn these things, like how much of the canal in Midvale that Salt Lake City owns. Very bizarre, but their public utilities director, once she also found out this impasse was happening, she did everything in her power to grease the wheel a bit, and we got things done quickly. But it was an ordeal. We are where we are now, and I think, as you said, this isn't the best agreement ever, but it is definitely something we can all live with.
Yes, unless there's something significantly changed with this agreement, we would just sign the agreement. If there's something significant, we'd run that by Garrett, and if that's the case, we would bring it back with
The one in front of you, I've already been able to review.
Okay.
Before it was presented to you tonight. It is substantially similar to the one that was in the packet, the example that you have from Sandy. There have been three small changes that I could identify when I compared the documents. One is it makes it clear that the utility and bridge permit agreement is going to be part of the agreement, the other agreement that Brandon's referring to between UDOT, Salt Lake City, and Midvale. So these are now need to be read somewhat together. It also puts a couple more obligations on us that we have the responsibility to maintain our bridge in such a way that it doesn't interfere with the canal indefinitely. So that was also new. And Salt Lake City also has a little bit more input on the design of things as well, based on their internal policies and whatnot. So between the example you had from Sandy and the one that you have from Midvale, the only real changes are those three things, and then it accurately reflects all of the details for our specific project.
And we would maintain, like Garrett says, that they're in there now, but we've done that with the current bridge as in place. So it's not something new that they've added. They've just added it to the agreement.
Which is why you think it would be a much easier thing to do, to replace a bridge that already exists and there are agreements in place for that to happen. But be that as it may, here we are.
Agreed. And I thanks Mayor for helping us with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions from council?
So no questions on that, just that I will bring back a UTA agreement that's done in an order and in place. And I'll just bring it next time because I didn't get it on the notice, or I would have had that agreement with me today as well. So just be aware that there's one more coming, and that's just with UTA to work within their tracks limits. Oh, I forgot to show you that right there. That's the work we're doing with the UTA agreement, and this is the project as a whole to replace that bridge. So with that, if there's no questions.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot the fourth governmental agency involved, UTA. So it's been quite the learning process. There is a motion on the board for council.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and approve resolution number 2026-R-13, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city staff to enter into two agreements with the UDOT and Salt Lake City Corp for the can I say 80th South, or do I have to say 8,000?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. 80th South Bridge Replacement Project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays on this.
Yes, Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikalash.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
And Glover.
Aye.
I'm
Okay.
just gonna say in Midvale, we call that Wasatch though. Just want to be clear, that's Wasatch.
Okay, that passes unanimously despite Councilman
Yes,
Brown's
that
objection.
was my only. The only thing I refer to it is that's what UDOT calls the project, and so.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Just
that.
always like
name.
slightly correct them, Boston. I'm sure they would like that.
Okay, moving on then, we have another action item tonight. Consider resolution number 2026 R14, authorizing the mayor to sign a construction manager general contractor agreement with Big D Construction Corp., Big D, for the new public works facilities. This is something, if there could be confetti, and I think Glenn and Jeremy would do the confetti right now, but this is a big step for our city. So Jeremy, will you explain?
Yes, good to see you, Mayor and Council again. Excited to bring this agreement to you for approval. It's been a lot of work just to get off the ground, and we're at that point where we've selected a contractor and we are ready for your approval for the agreement. Some project background here. In 2024, the city contracted with Galloway to complete a needs assessment and master plan of its current facilities. 2025 city purchased property to be used in the expansion project. Also in 2025, the city bonded for funds to be used in the expansion project. In 2025, city council approved a design services contract with Galloway for the public works expansion project. Galloway has created the initial site plan, continued to work with staff on design concepts for buildings, initiated environmental studies and engineering, prepared plats for consolidation, assisted in preparing in our request for a proposal package for selecting our contractor. Some additional information: the project is fully funded with $18 million from the bond and another $5 million in city funds that's already allocated for the project. The construction guaranteed maximum price, or CGMP, was set at $17 million in the RFP for the construction phase. Selecting our contractor, the RFP package process. The city posted its package on January 8th of 2026 on the State of Utah Procurement Place, AKA Bonfire. And I think there's other names for that as well, if you are familiar with it. On January 21st, the city with Galloway held an on-site mandatory pre-bid meeting explaining the project and answering questions to the contractors. The city answered questions until January 27th, and the RFP closed on January 29th of this year. There were 18 proposals submitted by contractors. Our selection committee was formed to evaluate and select the contractor, and it comprised of Nate Rockwood from the city administration, Glenn Kennedy, myself, and Levi McNeil from Public Works, Garrett Wilcox, the city attorney, to review the proposed contract edits, and Jim Childs, Galloway's principal architect. The RFP selection criteria that we judged these on were CMGC experience with similar projects, proposed project team experience, approach to perform the work, overall construction schedule, and proposed contract modifications. The selection committee results: after the members performed 2 rounds of scoring, Big D Constructed was selected as the most qualified. As you can see on the screen there, we have the top 4 listed that went into the final round. Do we have any questions?
Jeremy, when you say there were 2 rounds of voting, does that mean you ranked all 18 of them and say, like, you know, you narrowed it down to 5 and then did?
Correct. We
Okay.
narrowed it down to the top 4, which with the initial scoring was a very small margin, and we felt it was necessary to do due diligence and make sure we were selecting the right contractor on this project.
And I know Glenn has mentioned this company has done other public works buildings recently.
Correct. They've finished them well, they're almost finished with Murray City. They finished the transfer station, and I know they've done a lot of projects in the valley.
Yeah, I think we've all probably heard their
Yeah.
names, seen their projects, so. Any questions from council for Jeremy or Glenn?
And although I didn't bring an NCAA tie, I am gonna ask you to suspend the rules and approve this if you don't have any further questions.
Kind of have North Carolina blue on, so-
Whatever matches your team on here.
Okay, there is the motion on the board for council.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and approve resolution number 2026-R-14, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a construction manager/general contractor agreement with Big D Construction Corp. For the construction of the new public works facility.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Mikalash.
Yes.
Billings. Yes. Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
And Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Awesome. I think Glenn just jumped out of his seat there. Look forward to it. So next item, we have a request to table action item C. We'll bring that to an upcoming council meeting, hopefully the one on April 7th. If there's a motion from council to table that item, that would be great.
Mayor, I move we table resolution number 2026-R-15 to the April 7th meeting.
Oh, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Like, wow, they really want to talk about this no matter what. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this item. So an aye vote will be to table, a no vote would be to discuss it now. Rory, we call the yeas and nays on this one.
Yes, Councilmember Billings. Yes. Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
And Mikalash.
Yes.
Okay, we are tabling that item for the future council meeting. Moving on, we have two discussion items tonight. First is to discuss amending the fiscal year 2026 fee schedule, and here to discuss that, Mariah Hill, Administrative Services. Hi, Mariah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I told Matt I wasn't gonna have a presentation and then I made one 30 minutes before we started, so here we go. So we just had a few things come up.
5 slides.
Four, so we're gonna make it. I did start with my budget one as a template, so I did have to delete about, yeah. Okay, so we did have a few things come up across departments that it made sense for us to amend the fee schedule. We usually do this in the budget process, but because there was 3 or 4 across different departments, we just kind of decided to do it. We'll discuss it now and then have a public hearing. That's the requirement to change the fee schedule at our next meeting before you adopt this. So, the first change is to our building permit fee section. We have a list of over-the-counter building permit fees, furnace, AC, that list right there. And they were all different amounts. And then after discussing with our building official, these all require the issuance of a permit and an inspection. And so looking at the cost of providing that, we just are moving them all to a fee of $65 with a 65-cent state surcharge fee. So that's the change on that, to put those uniformly. And then with our building and rental event fees, you have this in your packet, but basically there was some deposits that were different from each other and it made some confusion. So we're making the deposits uniform. And then again, between our resident and non-resident fees, the percentage charged between those wasn't uniform, so we're just going through, it actually reduces the non-resident fees by $5. So just making uniformity, so that makes sense moving forward with our rentals. And then the bigger change on this is that we are adding drought rates. So this came to my attention as I was sitting in on some Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District meetings. They're doing a full rate study right now, and they presented drought rates, and it honestly had not been something that was on my radar before. And then they were like, this is important. Theirs are way more intense than what I am presenting here. But they were like, if you are thinking about doing this, you shouldn't do it when the drought is in full force. So I'm just trying to preempt what Brandon was talking about, what we might see coming. So this will be based on the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District and our own drought level designation. They're kind of tied together, but we have level 1 to 4. And when we were looking at this as a finance department, we were really looking to ensure that revenue loss from a decrease in water usage doesn't impact our base operating needs in our water department, so that we can still pay our employees, do what we need to for our water operations, and make sure we can make our bond payments, which is pretty important. And then also, there's a piece of that mixed in with the drought level designations that also we do want to drive some conservation as well with some drought rates. So the last time we were at a level 1 drought with Jordan Valley Water was in 2022. For Jordan Valley, that had a 12% reduction in consumption, and for Midvale, we had a 20% reduction in consumption during 2022. And the other piece of this is that this was what we're proposing. Finance put together over the last month or so, looking at the data that we have, but we are working to move all of our rate and long-term financial planning into a software called Waterworth, and they also have drought rate monitoring and suggestions, but we're just like very in the beginning process of this. So this is a starting rate, and I could see in the budget process or later on that this might change when we have that full financial model built out. So here is what we're proposing. Oh, you know what I didn't actually put, but it's level 1, we are not going to have any increase. Level 2 would be a 25% increase, level 3, 50%, and level 4, 75%. Jordan Valley's rates go up to like 200%, but that just feels like it would have too much detriment on our residents. And so here's what it would look like in our current rate system. And this is only on consumption. Everyone pays the base rate that helps maintain operating. This isn't on that. This is just on your consumption charges. So you can see how that would impact the tiers. And then the average summer usage last year was 34,000 gallons on a average residential unit. So when we're looking at that and then looking down to actually what the average consumption was in 2022, that was 24,000 gallons. So really at level 1, if we have that same reduction in consumption, everybody's bill will go down $24 on average. And then you can see when we move to level 2, that their bill is still at a decrease, but not as quite as much of detriment to the city's revenues. And then a level 3, we're about breaking even at that 20, but probably the other piece of that, but I don't have the data to back it, is that their usage would decrease even further. So really, I don't want this to be a massive, I don't want it to harm our residents in a big way. That's why it's not kind of the same as what Jordan Valley's is. And we'll have other conservation tools and things. This is just a starting place to make sure, and really at level 1, like what is being proposed this year, there won't be a change to our residents' bills. But just kind of wanted to start the conversation, and with the analysis we could do, this is where we landed. This is where finance felt comfortable with. So do you guys have any questions?
When's it gonna rain?
I am not a weatherman. Okay, we'll bring it back for a public hearing next time.
Okay, thank you, Mariah. Moving on to our second discussion item tonight, discussion of Midvale City's participation in the Remnant Defendants Settlement Agreement. Here to discuss that is Garrett Wilcox, City Attorney.
Thank you. Oh, I already did. Oh, gotcha.
Welcome, Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure the last time I presented an opioid settlement agreement before you, I'm sure I thought just like you did that you'd never have to see me again. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this particular agreement didn't meet those 3 criteria that we set forth the last time to allow the mayor and staff to be able to join in a settlement agreement, like the resolution that you passed the last time. So this one is a bit unique. I'm hoping by the title of the settlement agreement that this might be the last time I have to present an opioid agreement for you. But essentially, these are a number of the pharmacy companies who are involved in filling prescriptions. The state of Utah was not involved in the negotiation of this agreement. And so that's one of the primary reasons why we couldn't just sign it. And I'm here presenting it to you tonight. They've agreed to about $97 million countrywide as part of the settlement agreement. Before it goes to subdivisions and counties, again, the state is not involved. They'll remove administrative costs, attorney's fees, which are quite substantial, and then it'll be allocated based on population after that. We anticipate of that 97 million plus dollars by the time it's allocated to us. The high estimate is about $5,000 that will be provided directly to Midvale City. If we receive that money, if we join the agreement and we receive that money, it can only be used for certain purposes. A number of those things were included in the staff report. Things like being able to provide Narcan to first responders, education, things along those lines. So once we receive that money, it will need to be set aside and accounted for separately to show that we used it for one of those purposes. That is kind of the gist of this agreement. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions? I did learn the word remnant based on this. I've heard of remnant, but REMENANT is a different word that I didn't know before. Might say more about me than anything else, but so you'll put this on for approval at our next council meeting.
And with your permission, if you're interested in approving it, if you don't mind if I put it on the consent agenda, if that's okay with the council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Garrett. So we do have a closed session tonight, but in the interest of those who are here for the RDA item, if there's a motion to temporarily adjourn this meeting and do our redevelopment agency meeting, we'll come back to the city council meeting and finish up that closed session.
So moved.
Oh, sorry. I shouldn't say temporarily adjourn, temporarily recess.
Yep. So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, magically, we are now appearing as the redevelopment agency of Midvale City. Rory, will you see who is still here and who may have left?
Yes, Board Member Glover,
Here.
Billings,
Here.
Mikalash,
Here.
Brown,
Present.
and Robinson.
Here.
Okay, that is all of us. We are all here. Moving on to public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing may do so now. You can address the redevelopment agency by stepping up to the microphone. You'll be given 3 minutes. Seeing not one single flinch from the audience. We will move on then to approving the consent agenda. We have one item today, and that is to consider the minutes of March 3rd, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yays and nays on this one.
Yes, Board Member Brown,
Yes.
Mikalash,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Billings,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Moving on, we have one action item tonight, and it's a fun one. I'm excited about this. Moira's excited about this as well. Consider resolution number 2026-05 RDA approving the grant agreement between the redevelopment agency of Midvale City and Rebel Paw LLC for participation in the Main Street Activation Grant Program. Moira.
Hello, board members. I'd like to point out that we have the lovely Amelia and Nick with us, the owners of Rebel Paw, the company in question. You might recall just a short month ago, I presented you with this grant program to help us bring more people to Main Street, to help empower businesses to do their own events and to maintain momentum between city-run events while also not increasing the burden on event staff. So we have our first application that we are very excited about. We have Rebel Paw and their proposed event is the Easter Hound Hunt. So an Easter egg hunt for dogs where more than 300 eggs will be filled with treats and prize tickets and hidden along Main Street and Midvale City Park. So in these eggs. There will be treats for the dogs to sniff out, and then a ticket that can only be redeemed at the Rebel Paw physical location on Main Street. So they have an expected attendance of 200 people that we're very excited about. You can see on the PowerPoint an example of what the prize ticket will look like inside the eggs. Here's an overview of the event costs. And I would like to point out that although eggs will be placed in places other than Main Street, the grant will only cover any costs associated with Main Street items. So this event is large and will bring a lot of people outside of Midvale to Midvale Main Street, but all funds will only be used for the Midvale supplies. So we have prizes, we have the eggs. They're going to have a really fun photo booth. They're going to have a free craft for people with a free paw print. And they're also going to have a build your own Easter basket for your dog, which is going to be very fun. And they're working very hard to get prizes from Main Street businesses and then other pet companies across the valley. And we're also very excited that in their budget that they provided us, they're spending a lot of money on marketing, which was part of the point of this whole program, was to help show it to everybody, bring it to Main Street. So the total cost of this event is $1,400. They're a little over, and their amount requested is $707.50. You may remember our total grant award per person is $1,000, so they are underneath that. So the total fiscal impact for this grant will be $707.50 out of the $3,000 total budget for this program. Any questions?
Where do we sign up? That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to the event. One of my dogs will be there. The other one would just bark at all the other dogs and be a distraction. So I'll bring one of mine. Any questions from council?
No, I just wanted to say this is so exciting that we already have businesses that are utilizing this program, and we really hope that you guys realize that the city is supporting you and we like what you're doing, and please do more of it. So.
In fact, since you guys are here, if you want to come up and say anything about the event, or you don't have to. Moira covered
Nailed
it, as she always does in a.
Second thought.
And if you just want to state your name for the record.
My name is Amelia Paulson. I am the co-owner of Rebel Paw. Nicholas Black, my partner back there. We did this event last year very unofficially, much on our own. A lot of prizes were donated and it was so successful. People just absolutely loved it. We had people coming in, getting their prizes and then wanting to go out and find more. And they just loved hunting eggs with their dogs. So it's an exciting event.
How many participants did you have last year? Do you like ballpark?
I would say around 200, maybe a little bit under. We hid 200 eggs and they were all collected and found, and most people were getting like 3 to 4 eggs. So that's hard. Do that math. But yeah, it's a fun event. So we appreciate the support. We're excited to be the first event. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just like to say, I think it was the day after you guys officially approved the grant program, we had a meeting with Rebel Paw, and the day after that, they had submitted for the project. And I think the day after that, they submitted for their special event permit. So they were on the ball. Yeah.
It's awesome. Any other questions, comments from council? Not, there is a motion on the board.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2026-05 RDA approving a grant agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City and Rebel Paw LLC for participation in the Midvale Main Street Activation Grant Program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Billings,
Yes.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brown,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yes.
and Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Congratulations. We look forward to, yes, we look forward to the event. I'll be there. Okay, we do not have an RDA closed session, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn RDA and go back into our city council meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning RDA, going back into city council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are back magically in our city council meeting. We have a closed session tonight to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation. Is there a motion from council to enter a closed session?
Mayor, we move into closed session for pending litigation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
See, that was enough.
Yep. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes. Goodness, Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
Billings,
Yes.
Mikuláš,
Yes.
and Brown,
Yes.
and Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. We will be in a closed session.